Friday, everybody. Chris, here we go. Happy Passover and happy Easter to everybody out there. Good Friday for those of you. And hopefully it'll be a good Friday for what we're going to be doing this afternoon. We've got some fun stuff coming along. And USFL, so we've got show and tell. We'll show you our show and tell for the USFL. All things Birmingham, as we like to say, coming up. So, Chris, last night, if you were a fan of anything Washington, it wasn't a good night. The Nationals got tanked in Pittsburgh, and the Toronto Maple Leafs laid bare the Capitals. So it was not a good night for the teams with the DC logos today.
But it was a good night for me because, the Leafs won. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Cubbies are playing good baseball.
Yeah, that's true. They did beat Colorado yesterday. I said that game would stay under 11. Mm-hmm. It only got to, 7?
Yeah.
I think it was 5-2.
Yeah.
It was weird, though, for that Leafs game to see them score 7 goals and not see Austin Matthews score any of them.
Well, there's that, yeah.
Though he did have 2 assists, so he's now in the 100-point club, joining the only guys to score 100 points for the Leafs in the last half-century. Doug Gilmour did it twice in the 90s, and Darryl Sittler in the 70s. So, a pretty rarefied air for Mr. Matthews.
Well, good for him. And
of course, we talked about it last week or the week before, I can't remember, but, our condolences go to the family of Mike Bossy, who passed away today at the age of 65.
Phenomenal hockey player.
Yeah, for people that aren't familiar with, hockey from the 80s or anything, everybody talks about Gretzky and the Oilers, but before Gretzky and the Oilers, there was Bossy and Trottier and Dennis Potvin and John Tonelli and Billy Smith and the Islanders, who won 4 straight cups from 80 to 83. And Bossy was, I would have to say, he was probably the quintessential goal scorer of that generation. I know everybody wants to talk about Gretzky scoring 92 and everything else, but you look at what Bossy did during that era where he was so consistent with putting the puck in the net. He averaged better than, 57 goals or something like that a season in his career. He had, if you look, every year, his first 9 years in the league, he scored at least 51 goals, and in his final year, he retired at 30, remember?
Yeah.
In 63 games as a 30-year-old, he had 38 goals and 37 assists before hanging it up. I think there's a lot of guys in the league that would kill to have that be their best year, much less their worst year in a 10-year career. But our thoughts on going out to the Bossy family and the Islanders organization as a whole, because Bossy was such a key cog in that organization for such a long time.
And we did mention this earlier, but I believe today is the funeral of Dwayne Haskins, outstanding quarterback at Ohio State University, and someone who, at the tender age of 24, was trying to get things together as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, I know Coach Tomlin is someone who's a phenomenal man, and he and the organization, along with everybody, the NFL, and all of the fans of the NFL, wish the best to the Haskins family for that tragic accident that happened this past week. So, heavy hearts from there, but we go on, and we move on to, there's a lot of action here on Friday. And we're going to start things off with our buddies at DraftKings. DraftKings, if I hit the button properly, there it is. Okay. DraftKings has a promo for Max Wagers Network, and of course that's winners and whiners, picks and parlays. Here's the deal, gang. It's pretty simple. Bet $5 to win $200 in free bets when you make your first deposit, and bet of $5 on any Major League Baseball money line. You win $200 in a free bet. Okay? So that's the deal. You have to use the promo code, and it's WAW, which is Winners and Whiners Video. Get all the information in our show box below where everything good happens to be. All right? Cool. So, Christopher, where do we go today, opening day? Going to baseball?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, it's the Yankees and the Orioles. Everybody loves, Baltimore, especially when you're the team playing them, because let's face it, the Orioles haven't been good in recent years. And you can't expect things to be a whole lot better this season when you look at their pitching staff, which is pretty much a train wreck. The Yankees 4-3 now. They beat Toronto last night. And it seemed like nobody wanted, if you were the losing team in that series, nobody wanted to score any runs. I believe, I'm going to double check this, I believe that the losing team was shut out in all 4 games between the Yankees and Toronto. Let me double check here.
I think you're right.
I didn't say schedule, but that's the way this thing wants to work today. Click one button and have it bring up something different.
Nothing you want.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 3 of the games were shutouts. I forgot the Garrett Cole, Jose Barrios game ended up 6-4. But still, 3 shutouts in 4 games in the series. So we actually saw some good pitching. The Yankees part of a 3-way tie atop the AL East with the Rays and the Blue Jays. All those 3 teams 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Baltimore, well, they're where Baltimore usually is this time of year.
They're mathematically eliminated.
Yeah, they're 1-5. They're 2.5 games off the pace already, and we've only played a week. Jordan Montgomery had a no decision in his debut against the Red Sox. Took a ball off in the back of his knee in that game, so he threw 3 1/3 innings. He says he's good to go tonight. He'll face Jordan Lyles, who was roughed up by Tampa Bay in his opening start, giving up 5 runs in 5 innings, walking 3 and striking out 2.
Let me just stop you for a second. When would you think that your starting pitcher with an ERA of 8.10 is actually better than the guy he's throwing against?
Well, normally when it's the Orioles pitching, when you're facing the Orioles, you've probably got a good shot.
Yeah. Whoa. I know it's early, but those ERAs are pretty brutal.
Yeah. The Yankees tied for 22nd in the majors in runs per game with 3.5. They were 19th in runs on the road last year with 4.39. This is their road opener. Baltimore dead last in runs per game so far. They're averaging 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's not a typo. 2. They are slightly better at home. They average 2.67.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. The total for this game is set. I think it was 9. Let me double check and make sure it's still 9, because otherwise it'll mess up my things. Oh, it was 9.5. It is down to 9. So those numbers still hold. The Yankees 4-0 in their last 4 on the road with a total between 9 and 10.5. They're 8-1 in their last 9 overall with a total set at 9 and 10.5. They're 6-2 in their last 8 against a starter with a WHIP greater than 1.3. Baltimore 15-48 in their last 63 overall, and they're 12-47 in their last 59 against the American League East. Not going to say a whole lot more about Baltimore, but the Yankees have gone 41-14 in the last 55 meetings between these teams, and they're 24-7 in the last 31 meetings in Charm City. I know Montgomery hasn't pitched well. The Yankees haven't hit all that well, but Baltimore is usually the cure-all for what ails you when it comes to Major League Baseball in recent years. Look for the Yankees to drink from that elixir and pick up a victory here on the road.
And a good victory it would be. It's, by the way, hi Ryan, James, and Michael. Good to see all of you. In a small world category, long ago, my wife's family owned the Baltimore Orioles. And was her uncle. And her favorite player growing up was Luis Aparicio. So it's been a long time since the Orioles have been been relevant. Davey Johnson did a pretty good job with them in the 90s, but then things went sour. And Michael has a question for you here, and it is: good afternoon. He likes Marcus Stroman and the Cubbies tonight. What do you think there, Chris? Those are your boys.
Yeah, they're facing German Marquez and the Rockies at Coors Field. Stroman looked pretty good in his season debut. 1 run in 5 innings against the Brewers, and then the bullpen, of course, blew it later on in the contest.
Got to do what you do best.
The Rockies are a tough team to figure out. I mean, normally you expect them to hit well at Coors Field, but like I said, they only scored 2 runs last night. Marquez, funny thing about him, he's a former Cubs farmhand and ended up going to Colorado. I can't remember what the deal was that he got traded, but they had high expectations for him. Then they decided that he wasn't going to fit, and they shipped him out. He's a good pitcher. He pitched 7 innings, gave 1 run on 3 hits with no walks and 5 strikeouts in his season debut, but got a no decision. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think, based on what we've seen from the Cubs so far, you have to give them the upper hand here.
Yeah, absolutely. Dodgers. Before we get to the Dodgers and the Reds here in a second, Michael, if you remember, I think was it 94 or 95, the Jeffrey Mayer game, where there was. By the way, we mentioned him early in the week. That was the guy, the umpire on the line that night in that game was Angel Hernandez. So
of course it was.
Of course it was. Why wouldn't it be? There was. The Orioles had a good playoff run, and I believe, what was it? Was it 2014 or 2015 they got into the ALCS?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
And that game with Jeffrey Mayer was game 1 of the ALCS in '96.
Yeah. So Michael, they've had some decent teams, but basically it hadn't been recently. So there you go. Now, I watched a little bit of this game last night, and the Dodgers jumped on Cincinnati pretty hard. But the Dodgers are doing something that's really interesting, Chris. They're scoring after the 7th inning.
Yeah.
A lot of runs after the 7th inning. They've scored more runs after the 7th inning this year than they've scored in total before the 7th inning.
Yeah, they had 6 in the 8th last night to break a 3-3 tie. Mm-hmm. Of course, the game shouldn't even have been tied, but David Price, I like falling behind 3-0 to a guy, having a pitch fouled off, and I think you're going to sneak an 83-mile-an-hour changeup over the middle of the plate, belt high, and thinks that somebody's not going to tattoo it.
Even the Reds.
It cost Bueller a win, and then they had, of course, like I said, they scored 6 in the
8th.
Trey Turner had an RBI single, and just drove a 3-run homer, and at that point, you could turn the lights out. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati now 2-5, but the Dodgers, they made it interesting because, got to make things difficult for the betting public who, thought that they were going to win convincingly. I mean, they did at the end of the day, but, 3-3 in the bottom of the 8th is not what you were expecting in that game by any stretch of the imagination. Vladimir Gutierrez 0-1 with a 4.15 earned run average, a 1.846 whip, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and 4 1/3. Going to go against Tony Gonsolin, who has no record, a 3 ERA, a 2 whip, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. He only pitched 3 innings in his debut against the Rockies last weekend. The Reds 16th in runs per game at 4.29. They're 11th in runs on the road at 4.4. The Dodgers 4th in the majors, averaging 5.67 runs a game. They were 7th in runs at home last year with 5.06. Of course, with only 1 home game, you can say, hey, they're averaging 9 runs a game at home. That's not really a stat you can base yourself on after 1 game. The Dodgers 54-17 in the second game of their last 71 series, 54-18 in their last 72 with a total set between 9 and 10.5 runs. They're 113-41 in their last 154 home games against the right-handed starter. The Reds 1-4 in their last 5 against righties, 1-5 in their last 6 against teams with a winning record, and 0-4. Second game of their last 4 series coming into this one. Let's face it, I know the Reds played well against Atlanta. Since then, they haven't done squat. They lost both games to the Guardians. They got lost yesterday. They'll probably lose today. Odds are they'll lose tomorrow. And, they might lose Sunday, too, just to, keep
just
a trend going.
Even things out. Yeah.
Then they'll be 2-8. Now we don't talk about the Reds anymore.
Quick note to those of you, tonight's Apple TV Plus game, which you can stream for free, is the Rays and the White Sox. So that's your option. By the way, quick consumer note, you have to have a Apple ID to log in to watch the game for free. Okay. Now, if you're an Android user like myself, you may not have an Apple ID. So I'm giving you this information ahead of time. So if you want to stream the game tonight, get yourself an Apple ID because that is the only way you can access it. So.
Oh, and I see the late game for Apple TV is the aforementioned Reds and Dodgers.
It is, yeah, it is. So the Dodgers and the Reds, and by the way, I did check out Apple TV Plus, and they do. They bought from DAZN the Whip Around, which is basically the same thing as you get on the MLB Network, where Harold Reynolds and Matt Vasgersian and the guys sit around and they talk about the games as the games are being played. So it's pretty entertaining. So check out Apple TV Plus tonight, and remember you have to have an Apple Plus subscription to watch. ID to watch it. So be forewarned and give it a try. All right, James says Stream East. So not quite sure what that means, James, but let us know. All right, so from the okay, here we go. Oh, here's.
Yeah, you're right, Michael. He was. I've got him. Marquez crossed up with someone else. Probably Archer, because Archer got traded to Tampa Bay in a deal. So yeah, Marquez was signed by the Rays, and then they traded him for Dickerson.
Yeah, he was signed at 16. So he was. I don't know how old he is now, but he was. He can't be too old. 23, 24? Yes, no?
Let's see. He's 27.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Well.
But yeah, I figure he came up in the majors in 2016.
Now, Archer was a Cub, it says. Okay.
Yeah, Archer was.
Long while.
Archer got traded.
Long
yeah, Archer. I got Archer and Marquez crossed out.
Right. Okay. It happens. Okay.
Yeah, and now you look at Archer, and Archer's a piece of crap. So it probably worked out that we traded him because he never really panned out the way anybody expected.
I will say this about Chris: he is an incredibly nice guy, and he's an incredibly well-spoken guy. I have no doubt that Chris Archer is going to be on TV somewhere, probably sooner than later. He's definitely got the TV vibe down. He did some TV whenever he was injured, and it turned out very nicely. All right, so
he was traded to Tampa Bay. The deal that brought Matt Garza to Chicago back in 2011.
Yeah, my God, how many times did Matt Garza traded? That was, man, he was in one of those suitcases. He played for everybody. All right, so what? We're going to the ice tonight, right now?
Yep. Okay. There's only 2 games on the ice tonight, so we will cover.
The Panthers and the Jets.
Yeah, I know Sly will be disappointed, but Winnipeg, they had to fly to get out of that weather up there, and now they go to Florida tomorrow. They've got Tampa Bay, so it doesn't get any easier for the Jets. And we've talked about how Florida is a tough place to play if you're a visiting team, especially when you're trying to fight for your playoff lives like the Jets are. Mm-hmm. You look here at the numbers: the Jets 16, 13, and 8 on the road. Florida 31 and 6 on home ice this season. Connor Hellebuyck 27, 25, and 10 at 293 goals against, a 911 save percentage, and 4 shutouts between the pipes for the Jets. Supposed to be, and I say it's supposed to be because you never know with Andrew Burnett if he's going to switch it up and go from Sergei Bobrovsky to Spencer Knight. But as of right now, it's supposed to be Bobrovsky 35, 6, and 3 with a 2.7 goals against, 911 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. You talk about Florida and their offense. It's even more dangerous at home. They average 4.14 goals a game overall this season, which leads the league. On home ice, that number jumps up to 4.68 goals a contest. Tough to win when you're playing behind the 8 ball on the scoreboard all night. You have to look here, the Jets, middle of the road offensively, 3.08 goals a game. That drops to 2.78 on the road. And they give up 3.08 a game. So that shows you what their goal differential is. Nothing. The Jets the Panthers, I should say, 12th in goals against at 2.9. They're 4-0 in their last 4 against the West. They're 7-1 in their last 8 after giving up 2 goals or less. They're 44-8 in their last 52 as a home favorite. Winnipeg just 3-13 in their last 16 after allowing 2 or less in their last game, and they're 1-4 in their last 5 against teams with a winning record. Just a rough stretch for the Jets here. Like John said, they need it. Unfortunately, just because you need something doesn't mean you get it. That's the way the world works. Unfortunately, if you look at the standings, Winnipeg currently enters tonight. Let's see. They are 8 points behind Dallas for the second wild card spot with 8 games to go. And with, like we said, tough sledding with playing tonight against Florida and then having to go and play Tampa Bay tomorrow, it's going to make for a real uphill climb.
Well, and Tampa Bay also is in a position where they need to win, too, because they had some backsliding in that. So.
Yeah, they were fortunate to win yesterday over Anaheim.
Yeah. In overtime. Yeah.
And they didn't catch a break because Boston fell to Ottawa. Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot, Bruins. Normally I don't like Boston at all. Obviously, an original 6 rivalry in the history of them knocking Toronto out of the playoffs multiple times in recent years. But come on, you were playing a Senators team that's playing for nothing but pride, and you were playing at home, and you still lost.
Yeah.
So,
there's
screw
that.
You, Bruins.
Yeah. The Isles and the Canadiens. Yeah. Le Havaton.
Yeah, this is called the other game on TV because it's the only other game on the schedule. And, the Islanders 34-30-9. They're 15-17-5 on the road. Montreal, who cares? They're out of the playoffs. They've been out of the playoffs for a long time. The big storyline tonight, not that Semyon Varlamov is supposed to start. Personally, I would have started Sorokin even though he lost yesterday at Pittsburgh. It's that Carey Price is going to make his first start of the year for the Canadians. Because, why not bring him back with 6 or 7 games to go when you're in last place in the entire league? Why not play the guy that you're paying $10.5 million? Get a little return on your investment, right?
Right.
He was 12-7-5 with a 264 goals against, a 901 save percentage, and 1 shutout last year in 25 starts. Like I said, he has yet to play this season. Went into the player assistance program in October, and that was the last you heard of him until last week. I'm concerned what kind of game shape is he in at this point? I mean, he hasn't played since the Stanley Cup Finals.
Carey Price?
Yeah.
I mean,
he hasn't played the Cup Finals last summer.
Yeah.
He's had injury issues prior to that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what was it, a hip or something that impacted him a lot last season? I mean, you look, he played 25 games. He played 58 the year before, 66 the year before that, but the guy hasn't played in a year. I mean, what kind of game shape can practice is only going to do so much for you. It's not going to put you in the situation of when you've got, guys that are barreling down on you on a 3-on-1 rush or anything like that. What kind of game shape is he in? Why bring him back now?
I think
you're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're not anywhere near the playoffs. You're not going to do anything to improve your team here by putting him on the ice.
Well, maybe it's because they figure, all right, let's get him into a game just to get his headspace there. And even if he gives up 6 goals, like you said, they're not going anywhere. So maybe that's it. I mean, maybe they just want to get him into a game so he can get comfortable with playing again.
But I mean, he's going to be 35 years old.
I understand.
How much does he have left in the tank? It's not like you're bringing back Jacques Plante here.
I'm not advocating for him. I'm simply suggesting that these are raisins that Montreal's doing. Barry Trotz is putting somebody who he thought he stole from the Capitals and Semyon Varlamov in goal, and that hasn't worked out well either. Michael says that maybe Montreal's trying to get the number 1 pick in the ping pong balls.
They can do that with Samuel Montembeault. I mean,
right.
You don't have to bring Carey Price in for this. I mean, I guess you're trying to see, does he have anything left? Blah blah blah. But like I said, he's going to be 35.
Is he out of contract at the end of this year, or is he still in contract?
That's what I'm going to double check. I know he signed a lengthy deal before.
Yeah, I know. Is this an extension? Was this part of an extension, or?
Hey, double checking here. He's in his contract. Oh no, he's under contract until 2025-26.
Oh man. Okay.
So his cap number is $10.5 million. All the way through 25-26 when he'll be 38.
John thinks that maybe they're showcasing him for off-season trade.
Nobody's going to want to pick him up because nobody wants to pay $10.5 million to a goaltender that's 35.
Well, that's where dead money becomes an issue, right? How bad do the Canadians want to keep him versus how bad would somebody else take it? So if you want Carey Price, you think maybe Carey Price would be a good backup, or you're not going to pay $10 million. So that means how much does Montreal want to get rid of him? And if that's the case, then they're going to have to eat a lot of contract. So my guess is that Carey Price is probably going to be sitting out in the pool drinking Mai Tais in a year or two and not worrying about hockey but collecting his cash.
And when it comes to contracts like that, John, you should be familiar with the way that goalies get overpaid because I'll mention a name that everybody on Long Island still shudders when they think about it, and that's Rick DiPietro.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they paid him a truckload of money to basically do nothing because, let's face it, he was a major bust when it came to being a relevant goaltender. I mean, his contract just ended in 2020 where he was paid a 15-year deal for $67.5 million. You bought him out in 2013. You still had to pay him for another 7 years. In Montreal's case, I don't know if anybody would take him. I don't know if anybody wants to deal with the guy that you hear what Marc-Andre Fleury getting. He's getting way less money than that, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he's about the same age. It's true, Michael, about what Lundqvist did. He played a little bit for the Capitals, but then he hurt himself and he went back and retired. And this is, John says, the Bob Benito in the NHL. Could be.
That's true.
But the problem is, and this is, even if they get rid of him, right, which I would not doubt that you're right that they would try to do, that's still money against the cap.
Yeah, because even the compliance plan, like you said, it still counts against the cap, so then you've just got dead cap money.
Right. And that's what happens when you overpay and somebody doesn't perform. So there's that, which is not necessarily a good thing from anybody's state of mind. Hey, let's talk about something that is a good thing. And that's something that's from our buddies at Caesars. Now, Caesars Sportsbook is giving you first bet insurance all the way up to $1,100. Place a first-time wager up to $1,100. You get it back in the form of a free bet, even if you lose. Okay, so there's no way you can lose. Give us a try. So go out and give it a try. But first, you have to understand something. That, of course, is you're going to have to use our promo code because this is a deal just for those who are watching us right here on the Max Wagers Network. All right. So you hit the promo, enter it in the show box below, and you'll be good to go. Now remember, you have 25 years of age to participate, and always, as we say right here, bet responsibly. Okay? We ask you to do that because it's the right thing to do. All right? Okay. So we have play action on the hardwood tonight, right?
One last thing to throw about Carey Price, Jim.
Yeah.
His cap hit is the highest among any goaltender in the National Hockey League.
Oof. Well, there you go, boys and girls. All right.
So,
Nick has a question when we get to hockey. And that is Giants, Yankees, Rays. Like parlay, what do you think?
I'm a little leery about the Giants and him scoring the runs. I know Rodon's pitching today, but Zach Plesac looked for the Guardians, and Cleveland's get some good baseball late. Tampa Bay, I don't know what to make out of it. They played against Baltimore, then they played horrible against Oakland. They're trying, Drew Rasmussen today?
I think so.
One thing I'm going to look at is I wanted to know if he was related to Dennis Rasmussen or not. But it's going to be Dylan Cease for the White Sox. And Cease is another guy that the Cubs traded and to run to try and get the World Series. But I'm going to link with White Sox, and I link with the Guardians because I like the way Cleveland's pitching staff is. And with the Giants not scoring a bunch of runs, that plays right in Cleveland's wheelhouse because they don't like to score either most of the time.
That's a definite under on that.
Yeah, and playing in the weather, how are the Giants going to be playing in shores of Lake Erie and everything else? They're not familiar with the ballpark. Rodon is because he pitched for the White Sox,
Right.
but you're going to have. I imagine there's going to be wind. I imagine it's not going to be weather. So I lean towards the Guardians myself.
Well, at least it's not on the banks of the river, banks of the Ohio, Lake Erie, because that was having worked in that old stadium. That used to be really cold. And
Cleveland Stadium was
still is, by the way, very cold. Only it's nicer. It's a nicer building, but it's still cold.
And Mike, even if the complaint buyout is 58% against the cap, you're still sucking up $5+ million a year for the next 3-4 years on price.
And $5 million on a cap is a real. That's a drag. I mean,
because you're talking about the cap's left 82 or 83 million they're projecting, so you're showing up, 6-7% of your cap on a guy that you don't even have.
Right, and that 5%, that $5 million, for instance, could be a second or third line defenseman.
Yeah.
It's about where in the $3 to $5 million, that's where you get your lower guys, but guys who are contributors type guys. And
yeah, exactly.
You got to look at the cap and say, crap, $5 million against the cap. That's one less player we're going to have. So it does, unless they can figure out a way to make it work, it's going to be tough. It's Cuyahoga, the reason the song "Smoke in the Water." It did catch on fire. I can't tell you yet, Michael, if it is a reason for smoke on the water, but it did catch on fire down in where they call in that area. They call it the Flats. So we'll see. And speaking of the NBA, we'll go there. And speaking of Cleveland, we're going to go there. So here you go, boys and girls. The Hawks and the Cavaliers playing down in Atlanta.
Nope, they're playing in Cleveland.
Okay, well,
I should have changed that to road. I just didn't see it.
My bad.
No, that's my fault because I should have switched it. But yeah, Atlanta going to Cleveland. Atlanta, of course, blew out Charlotte the other day. You notice he hasn't been here since. After he said the Hornets were going to win that one.
Point well taken, yes.
Just kidding about Tim. He's a good guy. But,
he's part of our family.
Cleveland, of course, lost to the Nets. So Cleveland a 2-point underdog at home. The injury report, unless I saw Darren Allen was questionable, I don't know if he's going to be in if he plays. He hasn't played in 5 weeks with that broken finger. He's still marked as questionable. Cliff's defense still after Allen hurt. They were, I think, 50-50 when he was on the floor at that point. They haven't dropped to 20.
There you go.
So, on the other side of the report, Bogdanovich is trying to younger Bogdanovich or whatever, so better one, he wants it, is questionable with an next brain. John Paul still out. I think I'm down to the Cleveland's not much good. First started off, so they kind of apart. Kind of still very good. They scored 32 points the other night. They controlled it. Their defensively, they had 5 buckets to save their last 6 games. They don't have go-to guys outside Garland, and, if he's clicked down trying to deal trade for minutes, it's going to be tough to get looks. And then who do you rely on? You rely on Kevin Love? Do you rely on Lauri Markkanen? Do you hope Mobley can answer the call against the Earth because this season they've already been here for it. They've made the playoffs. They won the first round against the Knicks. Cleveland, they overachieved, really, when you think about it. They lost Collins a handful of games into the year. They tried to adjust on the fly. They had Rubio. They traded him, and then Rubio got hurt. They had Rondo. He did nothing. I think the Hawks are 7-0 against the spread. Their last 7 as a favorite. They're 5-1. And their last 6 on 1 day of rest. They're 8-1 their last 10 overall. Cleveland 3-9 against the spread. Their last 12. 0-4 against the spread. Their last 4 on 2 days of rest. And 0-4 in their last 4 at home. Teams with a losing road record. I just don't have any Cleveland for the season. You have to think that the Cavaliers run as that was. They say that things must come to an end. Unfortunately, for the Cavaliers, that takes place tonight. for Trae Young to have another big night like he did the other night and carry the Hawks to a victory.
We, our craft department at the Max Wagers Network, we just put out a quick link there for you, folks, so that you can click on it and find out what songs actually were about the burning of the Cuyahoga River. So,
as for Smoke on the Water, that had to do with it's in Switzerland.
Yeah. So see,
with in Montreux, Switzerland, when they were recording Machine Head, using the Rolling Stones mobile studio at the Montreux Casino when Frank Zappa was having a concert.
There's a name of the past.
Yeah. And the place caught fire. Somebody in the audience fired a flare gun towards the ceiling.
Well, that's kind of makes sense.
Which was mentioned in the song as some stupid with a flare gun. Although there were no major injuries, the resulting fire destroyed the entire Montreux Casino, along with all of Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention's equipment.
Oh, man.
So the Smoke on the Water became the title of the song, which was credited to Roger Glover, which the title occurred to him when he woke from a dream a few days later, referring from the smoke from the fire spreading over Lake Geneva from the burning casino, as Deep Purple watched from their hotel. So there you go. Music trivia brought to you by the letter Q, the number 7, Tacos.
That's right. We're a full service thing here. Not only are you going to find out about all your best bets for the weekend, you've hit us with trivia. We do our best to make sure you know it all. And by the way, the Burning Cuyahoga, which actually was about the Burning Cuyahoga, was a Randy Newman song. So there you go. Anyway.
Good old Randy Newman.
Good old Randy Newman. I think was it Ryan that asked me about the Nationals tonight, a bounce back game? Look, they've been playing win one, lose one so far, so I wouldn't go against them in that regard. And Pittsburgh and Washington are mirror images at this point of each other for the moment. So, who knows?
Mirror images of dumpster fires.
Yeah, it's not nobody said it was a pre-mirror. It's a mirror. We'll see, Ryan. Buddy, if I honestly knew that would be a good thing, but I don't think
for the record, I think the Nationals are going to bounce back. I think Eric Rennie can outpitch Mitch Keller.
Then
again, I think Helen Keller can outpitch Mitch Keller. So,
we need a drum roll. Anyway, so there's that. So all right, cool. Hawks have leaders, and looks like Atlanta's moving on to play Miami, right? First round.
Yep, not like a divisional rivalry.
Yeah, and the Hawks and the Heat are nothing like a divisional rivalry. But you know what? They're going to have to be for tonight. You know what? That's just the way it is, right? For tonight, that's what you get. And what else is going on? Chris, is there any more? I didn't touch it.
That was me.
Listen to lips.
Now, take note in case you've been living under a rock this afternoon or you didn't get the memo. This line has shifted dramatically. The Clippers were originally favored by 4. Then it came out that Paul George has entered the health and safety protocols and will not play tonight for the Clippers. So, of course, the line changed in a hurry.
PG3.
So he's not going to play. Kennard is questionable. Kawhi Leonard, of course, still not playing. Meanwhile, for the Pelicans, the only guy that isn't going to play is Zion. So, who cares? They still have they have Ingram. They have Valanciunas. You got C.J. McCollum, who had a big game to help the Pelicans get sort of the other night. And the Clippers and found out George wasn't big and said, well, the reason why the Clippers got hot down the stretch was because George was back. Well, now he's not here. So you're trying to figure out who's going to step up for the Clippers, and the answer is good luck figuring that out. You look at the rest of the rotation. You got Reggie Jackson. No, not that Reggie Jackson who hit 3 homers in the 77 World Series game against the Dodgers. No, it's Reggie Jackson, the guy that used to play for the Pistons and the Thunder and insert other teams. Are you going to rely on Norman Powell? He's played 5 games for the Clippers since he got traded from Portland. I don't know what you can expect from him at this point. He came back down the stretch after missing a bunch of time with a broken foot. You got Marcus Morris. He only played 54 games. And then you're down to Terrence Mann and Robert Covington and Zubac. So you got a bunch of guys that are typical players. You don't have a guy on the offensive end now. That's awful. Mm-hmm. If you look at Pelicans, against Melvin McCollum, they've got Ingram, Like I said, Alan Chu's good. Herb Jones has turned out to be a really good thing in the draft. He played good defense and making points. Like I like the Clippers. He was hurt. But now that George is out, I had to switch them to play his time in the road. Sam's free, and I one gives up his points. Clevin is 26 Nebraska, according to the tape. Wilkins 18 against the last 55 meetings. One play, last shit fight, what it was against the favorite four of last night. Odds by the half, favor of the Pelicans. Right here, where the Clippers won't be generated offense, and they only score 104 more in this Minnesota. We know how the Timberwolves can be defensively.
No question about that. Yeah, exactly. That's it. You want the tier of single God to play either. I really wanted first to be the team to be honest. I have George and the Pelicans when I was dry nuts. But right, with that P3, you got just enough weapons to match up with the Pelican team in this one. And
Bengals at baseball during Buxton wins. Making stay healthy, hurt himself about half an hour ago, sliding into second on leadoff. He walked off on his own and slammed the ground hard like something's up. So hopefully for the Twins and for Buxton, it's a serious injury because that kid got a world of help and he was way to end up getting reeled by some free injury. He got me an MVP candidate if he wasn't on the aisle ahead of time.
Yeah, one thing that concerns, he's kind of like Turner, who the Dodgers was with National. They play so hard they forget that even hard you can play silly. And I remember Turner just before he got traded, as a matter of fact, got a triple to that cycle. When he slid into third base, slid with the other man, and the other hand got stuck under the bag, and it hurt his hand, and he was out for a few games. And Scherzer sort of got hurt. And so basically then they started treating the team away because things were worse out. Because early as Bryce Harper was out. Just banging walls, he was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite things to see about Bryce was before game one day we were looking at Bryce. They were, early in the game, early in the day, they take outfield practice in baseball and batting practice. Jason Worth, one of the great clubhouse comedians, went out to right field and took some yellow tape and marked it off like a dead body was against the field wall and said, and then used a pencil and said, one of those marking pencils, and said, Bryce Harper. And so, when Bryce came out, he saw that, there was that imprint of him on the wall. So, yeah. McCutcheon is, Michael said he would compare Bryce and McCutcheon. McCutcheon also, a career, you wonder how well he could have been had he not been constantly injured, both Pittsburgh and then, in the trade to Philadelphia and others. So, yeah, there are other players who just are immense talented, but can't buy a break when it comes to getting hurt.
Yeah, and Brent, I agree with you about Cleveland doesn't look like they haven't looked right since Allen got hurt. They don't get defense the way they did early in the season, and they don't have a good offensive rotation to work with either.
Even with the right Bogdanovich. So there you go. All right, so show and tell time. This weekend we're getting back to the USL. Now this, boys and girls, is my Tampa Bay sweater, which was given to me by 8th grade Mr. Bogdanovich when I used to produce, directed the NFL, USL, in the 1980s, and they're back. Whether that's good or bad, that's up to you. But they start tomorrow, Chris, on NBC and Fox, and I think they've got a pretty good chance of making it because both Fox and NBC have invested heavily in them. The NFL is lending them some of their officials, and they're playing all their games in Birmingham, so you're not going to have to worry about an audience. The running the first year is going to be amazingly cheap because there's no travel.
That's true.
And basically everybody practices there, so interesting. Michael, thank you very much. This sweater is overpaid at this point, but it still fits. But it's nice to have. Who's playing? Ryan, are you playing golf somewhere? You said you playing golf.
Yeah, he said he's playing on a course in Delaware. I think.
Yeah, a course in Delaware. Where? There's a lot of good golf courses in Delaware. Red Sox getting killed by these. Oh, ouch. Okay.
Yeah, it's 4-0 at the bottom of the second.
Okay, you're in Delaware. Fair enough, Michael. Ryan, sorry. Beautiful. Oh, Dover Air Force Base. Hey, Ryan, have you been to Go down to the casino over there. Well, he'll get back to me. All right, let's for the. How about that? Ready for keep running? I not. I know where else to go. Oh, get there. Oh, good people over there. People. Florida Panthers. I think we've seen these two. Actually, seen these four.
Yep, maybe.
It does. I mean,
after the Jets, we talked about it. Florida's a very good team at home. Mm-hmm. It's going to be battling fatigue of the travel and the weather and all that. And they've got to play Tampa Bay tomorrow. It's going to be a rough sledding for the Jets. We talked about it, Cleveland and Atlanta. We've talked about how bad the Reds are, and there's the way they now runs on 8. Those make the run line look better than they did yesterday. And the Pelicans and the Clippers we talked about with no George. Who do you rely on for the Clippers? And the answer is nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody. Billy Crystal, he's a Clippers fan. That's you never know. He's short, but maybe he's got a good outside shot. All right, so let's go for the show.
All right, we get over the Orioles, which we talked about going on Miles. Mm-hmm. I like the White Sox over Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's is back to the point where they've got to prove they actually want the baseball. Because when you lose 3 out of 4 to an Oakland team that has
at home,
that has minimal talent, and I'm not taking anything away from the A's. I mean, they won those games fair and square, as far as I know. But they're still a bottom feeder team that traded away the core of their lineup into the playoffs multiple times in recent years. And doing them good with a bunch of slumps. So Tampa Bay's got to prove it, and Gallon will pitch well for the White Sox. Michael, it's still windy in the DC, like it was yesterday. All the pop-ups. The guy hit about 8 miles up in the air and nailed it. He ended up on second base on a ball about 16 for the plate. But game temperatures in the game supposed to be about 40 degrees. Not really what Tampa Bay wants this year. And Chicago should get the win at home. The Blue Jays, over the aforementioned days, to me, beat them 3-4 is one thing, but facing a Toronto team that's got a lineup like the Blue Jays have with Guerrero, Bichette, and Springer, and Chapman, and all those guys is a different story. Jeffrey is going to go against Ross Stripling. Stripling's going to work probably an opener type of guy. Probably going to be a bullpen type day for Charlie Montoyo because they pushed Hyun Ryu to tomorrow, give us a day of rest. I think the Blue Jays have enough at the bat so that they can overcome that situation at the very. What about the Islanders? Win is one for when the Islanders were making those runs to the Cup, inevitably what they'd have to deal with in the postseason was Montreal, and it would only be fitting for them to give Bossy a proper remembrance by beating the Canadians tonight, even if they didn't carry Price's to the ice this season.
And let me ask you a question. I know we've all seen the movie Brian Song, and there's that great scene where Brian Piccolo goes into the locker room. I mean the hospital room with Gale Sayers after they had dedicated the game to him with the game ball, and he goes and he said, "You do realize that when you dedicate a game to somebody, you usually supposed to win it." And so, you hope that if they go to tonight here and they win one for Mike Bossy, they actually go out and win one.
Right.
But there's reason to believe they wouldn't, and that's for darn sure. I mean, that's the way it looks at this point. So, you think it's time for the menu, my friend?
Yeah, and Michael, the White Sox don't mean anything to me either, but, when it comes down to picking the White Sox or the Rays today, you kind of have to, pick one or the other.
Well, yeah. It's a binary thing, buddy. You got one, you got two. So. All
right, here is the menu. Like I said, it's Jackie Robinson Day today, so let's not overlook that 75 years ago today.
That's right. It's quite the anniversary.
Yeah. But on the menu today, I'm going to go, like I said, took the National history, and they looked good half an inning. Unfortunately, baseball's a 9-inning game, and nobody told Washington. Hopefully today they got the one. They'll beat the Pirates. Supposed to be Eric Fetty, like I said, against Mitch Keller. Keller hasn't had their career. I don't expect him to be any better here. I'm going to take the small upset and go with the Guardians over the Giants. I like the way Plesac pitches. He pitched well at home. Or he pitches well at home, I should say. Rodon, I know he's got familiarity with Park, but the Giants have to hit better than what we've seen in the early game because runs have been at a bit of a premium for them. You look at the way they struggled outside that one game against San Diego. They scored 13 in that game. In their other 5 games combined, they had a total of 14 runs, and 6 of those came on opening day against the Marlins. Not kind of numbers that you want to have offensively by any stretch. The Phillies over the Marlins. I don't know what happened in Philadelphia yesterday. I forgot that they were playing baseball because it's a disappointing show for them. Instead of the fact that you went to Lowell Park and had 13 people in attendance, and some of us were hot dog vendors, and you still lost. 3 in a row and 4 or 5 after starting the year 2-0. They lost 4-3 yesterday. Hopefully, Philadelphia turns it around. Pitch matchup is, I think it's Zach Eflin. It's Pablo Lopez. Let me see. Yeah, Eflin and Lopez. I like Eflin. He pitched on his debut this season. Got a notice. Lopez is ridiculously inconsistent, and I don't like it. So we want to go with things. I took the Cardinals yesterday. I thought they were going to be Milwaukee. And went out in the day. So we'll turn it around. Freddie Peralta's going for the Brewer Day. It's supposed to be Miles for the Cardinals. I think Peralta, he grounded after that slow start against the State. After he in the first, he showed down the rest of his outing. Pitched well at home. The Brewers have a good bullpen. So if they get a lead, you'd like to think they keep a lead. Look for them to prevail over St. Louis, the battle teams I like the least in Major League Baseball. I'm going to fill the Hawks and Cavs to go over 223. If you look at their 4 innings this season, they average, I think, 2.5. I think we're going to see another up-temp type game here. Past the Cleveland is a little leery now that it's 15.5. I liked it when George was playing. I'm a little less certain about it now. I'm making to it because I like to think the New Orleans will have a better run. For the Clippers to adjust to their style. I think we'll play on 15.5. He's a secondary scorer. Outside of Garland, you have to think he's going to get his share of points, especially without Collins in the block. And Clint Capella's not going to defend Mobley, so being Bogdanovich or Deion Hunt. And I think Mobley has an advantage over that addition. I like the Cavs to hold the lead with the Jet after the end of one play tonight. I'm going to Oilers to win in regulation. Played hockey all year. Carey Price. I look for the Oilers to go back. It seems to be Varlamov he hasn't great this season, so you have to think there's going to be a rust factor. How do you adjust into the fly? It's tough to get up to game speed, especially in the net. Look for the Jets and the Pacers for 6.5. We talked about how dangerous Florida is on holes. I think she got a couple of own, and that should put this against the line.
And there you go, boys and that is your mark them and keep track of it. That's the key to what we're doing here today. Is always the menu. And Jackie Robinson, 75 years, hardly even. That's been that long. That's, it's funny, there is one other quick story that goes to that. Right after Jackie Robinson came up, in the same Dodger organization was Roberto Clemente. And the situation was Branch Rickey left the Dodgers and was the Pirates and called up his predecessor at the Dodgers and said, "Are you bringing Clemente up?" And he said, "Well, we're on our 3rd year now of having Jackie. I'm not so sure we want to go with Clemente. He's doing well in Montreal, which is where their facility was at the time." And so the Dodgers made the trade of Clemente to the Pirates, and he says it's history. But Roberto Clemente was thought to be, he wasn't contemporary of Jackie Robinson. He came late down the line, but he was signed early by the Dodgers. They held his rights, and eventually he got moved to the Pirates. There you go. 2 tremendous athletes, Roberto Clemente and the late great Pablo, both of them in their own way trailblazers. Jackie, of course, the first African American in baseball, and Roberto Clemente, one of the first Hispanic players in baseball, and certainly one of the biggest humanitarians. Both of them left their mark on the game. Both of them were celebrated. In the case of Jackie, of course, Jackie Robinson Day, everybody wanted him too. And in the case of Roberto Clemente, an award given to him every year, given in his name, I should say, every year by Major League Baseball. So all kinds of fun stuff in those little situations. Happy Easter to Michael. He's wishing us happy Easter. Happy Easter to all of you. Happy Passover as well. point of personal privilege, my niece is getting married in Philadelphia, which means I got to get out of here. But tomorrow. So there's that. And guys, it's always fun. Remember a couple things. Here's what we need you to do. Okay. This is the Max Wagers Network, and I know you're watching it on a number of different platforms. Do us a favor. Go now. We'll wait. Subscribe to the Max Wagers Network. Okay? And because very soon, that's going to be where you're going to watch the show live. Okay? It's only on Max Wagers Network. So if you're not watching on Max Wagers, please go over and hit that subscribe bell, hit the notification, and that way you're going to be able to get us. Okay? And good to hear that Ryan is having some fun golfing out there. And hope you have a good day. A lot of good friends over at Dover Downs. And interesting enough, many of you probably know this, that Dover Downs is literally hotel and casinos, literally physically against the NASCAR track. So if you have east-facing windows, you've got a box in watching the race at Dover Downs. So it's a pretty wild place. So you're a good chance to check it out. Go there, hit the button. You're right, buddy. You want that? Smack that thumb. Good. All right, yeah, all good, guys. Thanks, Chris. Have a good holiday weekend, my friend.
You too, Jim. Travel safely.
Thank you. Amtrak's our friend. So
that's true.
30th Street Station, Philadelphia. No time for cheesesteaks this weekend, boys. But, it is. Life goes on, right?
There's always time.
There's always time. So I don't know. I'm on a tight schedule and I'm not in charge, so that makes it worse. So there you go. Boys and girls, thanks so much for joining us. We always have fun. Chris, of course, it's always a pleasure working with you, my friend. And we shall see you come Monday right here on the Max Wagers Network. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend. And